Good morning, everybody. Just taking off my jacket. How are we all? It's Tuesday. It's Stamp and Chat Day, which is great. It's windy out there today. We spent the weekend raking leaves. We knew they were going to come back down again, but yep, let's just say the garden is covered again. So just bear with me while people hop on. Hope somebody's going to be joining us today. I'm just going to share this to my group. Make sure I am live in the right place to start with, which is always a good thing. Let's have a look. Pop this in my group so that those that have gone on there to find me can watch this through there. So, job done. Okay, how are we all? Are we good? It's Tuesday already. I don't know where the week has gone since I was last on here sharing a card with you. So, lighting. I do get a bit of shadowing. I'm just watching on Facebook. It's slightly delayed, as most of you know, but I keep seeing, like, when I move, the odd shadow. I've got kind of lights everywhere, and I did talk about this last week. I may consider moving where I film from. I need to have a bit of an experiment and a bit of a play to find out which is the best place to be situated as regards lighting. So, but I am snowed under with retreat projects at the moment and packaging bags and creating gifts, so it's been a bit hectic and slightly stressful as always, but you know, sometimes we survive on the stress, don't we? So under here you will see these are the first two cards that we've made on the first 2 weeks. Let's just have a look if anybody's here. I can see somebody's watching. Anybody joining live today? Those of you that purchased the kits, is there anyone that's stamping with me, just so that I know that I can take a bit of extra time when I'm putting things together? So anyway, these were the first two cards that we made. For those of you that have not joined us on this series yet, we're using the Love of Leaves stamp set, which is this one here. Absolutely gorgeous. And the kit included the Bumblebee ink pad, so I'm focusing on using just this throughout the weeks that we go live. But of course, if you have other colours, if you've got Mossy Meadow or other greens you want to use and stamp your leaves and extra pieces instead of using my die cuts, that's totally fine. Morning, Ruby. How are you today? How are you keeping? Right, let's move these out of the way for a moment. Put those over there. Now let's bring in today's cards. So you need to pull out card pack number 3. You've got those lovely gorgeous craft pattern bags. Mine are just in a cello bag. So here's the card I'm going to create with you today. So again, focusing just on the Bumblebee ink and using some die cuts so that you can complete your card just with the one ink pad. A bit of fussy cutting for those of you that don't have the dies today, but you know, it wouldn't be a card for me without a bit of fussy cutting, would it? So, and I've added on this one some of the stitched parts of the dies, but you don't have to do that. Obviously, if you haven't got the dies, you can just leave them plain. So the card I'm going to make today, I'm going to leave plain, and then we can just compare after so you can see how different they look. So we're going to be creating our own background on here using your stamps as well. So pull out card pack number 3. We'll just pop that down there for a moment. Going to need a few stamps out, so you'll need to locate a couple of larger sized blocks. D I've been using for this, size D. Let's have a look. We will need this lovely one. Let's take that cover off. this 5-leaf one, which is my favourite. And we need this small one here as well. And I'll pull my greeting out when we need it. So for my sentiment, I've just used the hello because it fits in with my design really, but do feel free to use anything else in the set or anything else that you have at home. Let's just find some blocks. Now I have given my blocks a bit of a clean, not very well, but they're still pink. They're still pink. That's all those Christmas projects I've been doing. Is this going to fit? I'll make it fit. Obviously, if you have a larger block, it will work better. But for the sake of today, I do have, if I show you, my block bag is holding down my stand. So this is the E block, which would work equally well with a stamp this size. This one I'm going to pop on a diagonal. And then just a smaller, oop, dropped it then almost, C block for this leaf. Got a wobble already. This table is not great, is it? Okay, stamps are out. So you need to locate your, oh mine's got a bit crumpled, your Whisper White base, and it's the piece that I've pre-scored. Ruby, you said you're good. How am I? I'm fine, Ruby, thank you. I'm well. I'm just really quite busy with prep for my retreat at the weekend at Bowden Hall Hotel. So it's all been a bit daunting. It's all been very long and drawn out because we should have been there in April for our event, but for obvious reasons we couldn't be. And I'm just so thankful that at present we will be going ahead under different circumstances, of course, because of COVID. It's not going to be quite the same. We're all going to have to be spaced out, and we're all going to have to be really mindful as well. And obviously we have to adhere to guidelines and the hotel's guidelines on COVID as well. So, but at least it means we can craft in company. Even if we are at a distance from each other, we can still make it work. So let's pop you to one side. Okay, you will need some scraps of Whisper White as well for this. You've got a sheet of Whisper White, I believe, so you should have some pieces left. So let's start by just folding our base like this. And I think what I'm going to do today is what I normally do when I create. I'm going to do all of my stamping pieces. I'm going to pop that card to one side and pop my base up there. So I'm going to get all my stamping done out of the way. Let's see, is anybody else joining in today? I know some of you are working, but the beauty is it will be on record. I have a feeling I've not uploaded last week's yet to YouTube, which is pretty awful, but I will get to that later. I have the photo ready to sort the thumbnail, so I will try and get to that later. I was actually working until almost 10 o'clock last night, trying to prepare labels for bags, and my printer was not playing ball. It was telling me it was out of ink, but there was definitely ink in there because I took each cartridge out to check. So it was just being a little bit annoying. So scrap piece of Whisper White. I'm going to take the big leafy stamp. Just going to ink that up. Try not to rock my table too much, and then lay this one down. I think I'm going to do it definitely. If you have, while I'm just stamping this down and thinking, if you have the piercing mat, the Stampin' Pierce mat, photopolymers prefer to be used on the pierce mat, just because they don't have as much give as our red rubber, and sometimes if you find you're not getting a good crisp image when you're stamping something down, with photopolymer Stampin' Up do recommend we use that pierce mat. We don't actually sell the grey one anymore. Where is mine? Here is mine. As you can see, I've not really taken care of it. But we do have a mat that goes with the Stamparator, so you can still purchase one. Obviously with this stamp, because of the way the actual stamp has been made, it's designed to give you depth, so it's not designed to stamp down as a solid image, which is quite clever, I think. Okay, so we've got our large leaf stamped down there. The next one I need to use is this one here. So you need to mount up this lovely, I don't know what kind of leaf that is. I don't know. Any suggestions, anybody? I'm not very good with leaves and trees. I should be, because we have so many trees here in the garden. I know what a couple are, but I don't really know what this one is. So let's just ink that one up. And I just need part of this one because we're using it in this corner. So I'm not going to waste all of my paper. Let me grab a piece of scrap from my notebook just to stamp off so that my grid paper remains clean, just for the purpose of stamping live with you. And I'm just going to ink up that part because that's all we need. We don't need to stamp the whole thing. And I think for now that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to pop those through my cut and emboss machine. So those of you that haven't seen this machine before, I think I'm zoomed in too far for you to have a look, but I'm just going to fold the edges up and bring it in so that you can see it. I mean, it looks very big in here, and it's quite grubby. It's had lots of use, wants a good wipe down, but the ends just fold out like this to make it portable. And I'm not going to do that on my desk because it wobbles like crazy. So here's my very well loved cutting plate, and for die cutting we need to pop number 2 layer on as well, and then we need a clear plate, in theory, which should be clear. And then we're going to take let's get my dies for you. Those of you that have got the stitched leaves dies, aren't they gorgeous? Are you loving using them? Are you having fun with them? So we need this die here, and as I said, I'm not going to do the stitched option, and then this one here. So if I was using the stitched option as well, I would just place that one down inside the middle of there, but I'm going to put those to one side. Let's just line these on and then pop my top plate. I can cut these both together, hoping that they don't move. Right, you haven't seen me do this, but sometimes the dies bend a little, so I'm just going to gently encourage that one down that way. Line that up as best I can. Now, like me, I still don't have the magnetic plate that goes with this. I will tell you what, I'm using my old magnetic plate from my Big Shot machine. It does work in here. Where is my top plate? There it is. So you could use washi tape to hold these down if you don't have anything, any kind of magnetic plate. You could use washi tape. I'm just going to pop. Can't pick it up now because I'm trying to squeeze it. So what I do is, before it goes in, I give it a good squeeze and hold it while I'm running it through, in the hope that nothing moves. It did move slightly, which is where the washi tape does come in, but it's not too bad because we're hanging that one over the edge. Let's just push that one out, and that one as well. Look at that lovely negative it leaves. Right, let's just pop that to one side. Just push this out. Put those dies back on my magnet sheet because otherwise they may get lost. What do I need to do next? Let's do some stamping. So you need to locate this piece of Whisper White. Don't get it confused, it's quite easy to see the difference between your insert piece and your outside layer. And what we're going to do, I'm going to need my scrap piece in here again. Let's just move my die cuts. I do normally, honestly guys, stamp onto my grid paper. You know that I'm a bit of a tidy freak, but I'm not at the point where I'm not going to get my grid paper inky. But just for the purpose of today, because I find once I start stamping on here, it kind of draws your eye away from what we're doing. So for here, those of you that are following along, we're going to do some random stamping on the background. Okay, now if you were randomly stamping on a whole sheet and you were going to chop it up and kind of use it as background, a bit like our designer paper, our pattern papers, you always start with your largest stamp first, and then you get smaller, filling in the gaps with your smaller stamps. So for this one, let's just bring in our ink. See, even when I'm inking, my stand is wobbling. And we're going to lay this one down somewhere down near the bottom, but sort of heading into the centre a bit, like that. And then next we're going to take this one again, and we're just going to add a few in randomly. You don't have to place yours exactly where I'm placing them. It's entirely up to you. I think we'll start with one coming in. Let's have a look how I've stamped it off as well. So I'm going to stamp it off and then pop one coming in here like that. So I've got a different gradient of colour going on. I don't think I'm going to use that one again. Might just pop in though. Let's have a look. Might pop one, we're this way up. One of these, let's just stamp that off. Pop a couple of leaves in there like that. And then I'm going to infill with my little leaf. And I'm going to do a couple at full strength ink and a couple that aren't full strength. So let's just randomly. So I'm going to stamp that one full, and then that one I'm probably going to end up, and I can already see, can you see there? I don't know if you can see that, and I don't think I can zoom you in whilst I'm live. Where I've gone over the corner of my card, I've made a bit of a mistake there because it's taken the ink off of my stamp, and of course I'm doing second generation, so I'm going to end up with a little line in there. Can you see that? But that's not a problem. Not a problem. So I would suggest when you are going over the edge to re-ink and stamp off rather than using your stamp straight away. Does that make sense? So kind of did a little faux pas then, but it wouldn't be alive if something didn't go wrong, would it? Let's just pop a couple of bits around it. I think that's enough around the edge. I'm tempted to go over the top of that one. I'm going to stamp it off just to get a bit more ink. I'm going to try and line that in and just cover over. It didn't work, but that is totally fine, because what we can do if we want to, we can just stamp another one of these and layer it over the top. So there we go. Let's move that bit of scrap to one side. Now I think what we'll do is pop it in the die cut machine and just cut out our label. So as per the previous cards, I've been using the Tasteful Labels dies because they're just so usable. Really loving them. Are you stamping live with me, Ruby? Are you joining in and following along, or are you going to catch up later? Okay, so I need to find a bit of scrap. And I'm going to take this lovely die and the little circle one as well, and just cut those two out. So just bear with me while I do that. So what is everyone up to this week? Got anything exciting planned? Or are things changing as regards COVID in your area? Because I know some places are being locked down again, which isn't much fun. Okay, so I've just cut these two. We're pretty lucky where we are. Gloucestershire has a pretty low rate, which is good. Okay, so this layer, this die cut is going behind here. Now, because you can only, if I pull the card back in, I'm only using half of it. If you want to use the other half of this for another project, then I suggest you simply chop it in half. Cut it right down the middle. Pop it in your trimmer, or simply take your snips and chop it in half. And save that other piece for your next project, because I know you have all those leftover pieces on your desk that need using, so that will be another one to go with that. And then I'm just going to take, you have already got in your kits. Oh, morning Rita. Don't worry about being late, honey. You can catch up whenever you like. How are you? How are you doing? You've already got die cut pieces for these. Now, as we spoke last week, you could actually, if you've got the dies, you could stamp this out, and if you've got the Mossy Meadow ink, you could stamp this out and then die cut them out yourself, or you can just use my die cuts. Entirely up to you. So let's just bring in, and to save time I'm going to use both dies, and I'm going to just do it behind here, because when I turn around and move, that's when my dies move, which is a bit annoying. So I'm just going to line them in as quickly as I can. That's the wrong one. And run them through my cutter. It's still squeaking. Has anybody else got a squeaky cut and emboss machine? So there we go, there's one. Just push out the other. There. Oh, my stomach's rumbling. I've not had breakfast this morning, so I was home alone last night because Jason was away. He's gone to Donington with his dad, taken a car there, I think to show for some like exhibition. So I was home alone last night, hence why I worked late, but I woke up normal time this morning. And in fact, I must have slept pretty well, because we've had some rain and I didn't hear it, and quite often I'll hear that on the Velux. And I thought this morning I wanted to make some healthy snacks, so I had some medjool dates in the fridge that needed using, so I switched on my Thermomix and made myself some hazelnut and desiccated coconut power balls. So I had one of those with my first coffee this morning, so I'm actually ready for breakfast now. So I've got a few bits and pieces here. I think I can start sticking. Rita, wish I could say good, but you're still plodding on. Oh, sweetheart. I know, you've got to keep plodding on. That's all you can do. And we're all here rooting for you. You know that. We're all here if you need to chat. But I'm glad that you are crafting, because that is a great distraction from everything else that is going on in life. It kind of keeps us well entertained, doesn't it? So in your kit you've got a strip of grey granite, and you've also got a strip of soft sea foam. always when I look at this, I want to call it Certainly Celery. Does anyone remember that old colour? I bet some of you have still got the ink and probably cardstock, and you probably still use it. So yeah, I love that colour. See, I nearly said it then. I nearly said Certainly Celery. Your soft seafoam strip is longer than you actually need. Or is it? Mine actually looks like it will fit. Maybe it's not, so maybe it does fit. So let's just take my Tombow. Give it a little shake. Does your Tombow sometimes seal over on the end? If it does, if you go to use it and there's nothing coming out and you can still feel by the weight of it there's plenty in there, don't, whatever you do, squeeze and squeeze and squeeze with all your strength, because it will probably then release the blockage and leave Tombow all over your project. So usually a good little flick, or if you press really firmly over the edge, there's usually a little bit of glue that's just like dried up in the end. So normally when you go like that, you'll be able to grab and pull out the piece of dried glue that's in there. So little tip for you, and I always store them up that way in a little pot or on my desk on my my holder, just to keep the glue at this end of the dispenser. So some Tombow on the back of here. I have got my Stampin' Seal here, but I tend to just go, let's check I'm in shot, tend to just go with Tombow. It's my favourite. Can you see how I'm using my grid paper to line up? Love my grid paper. I don't like working without it. And then a bit of Tombow on the back of this layer. And we're just going to pop this one closer to that edge and as straight as you can, with an even border, top and bottom, like that. Now, if you haven't cut your lovely label in half, you will need to adhere it to the back of this layer before you stick it down, because obviously once you stick that down, you're not going to be able to get anything underneath. But I am thinking I will just about be able to wedge that under once I've stuck it in. That's my plan. So Tombow on the back of this layer. Try not to get it on my fingers, and just lay this down centrally top and bottom, and then before it sticks too well, a bit of Tombow under there, and I'm just going to wedge it under like that, leaving, oops, that wasn't the plan. See, that is the good thing about Tombow. You've got a bit of wiggle room. I think that's about straight after that. Large bit of movement there. That is, I have to say, that is the one thing I love about Tombow, that when you stick something down, you have got that bit of wiggle room to allow for movement if something hasn't gone exactly where you want it to go. Okay, I think next I'm going to take your large leaf. Now you may have to fussy cut this one out if you don't have the dies, so I will try and waffle and work slowly to give you time to cut this one out. You may have already sat there cutting out while I've been waffling along, because you know I'm good at that. And we're literally going to pop some dimensionals on it and hang it over the top of here. What I will do first is just roughly gauge where that tail is going to hang and just snip that off. Stuck to my scissors. So that one's going to go there, like that. Let's pop some dimensionals under here. I'm about to start another new sheet, but I think first I will use up all of my edges. They're the best bits, the edges. Do you all use your edges? I have occasionally found them in the bins at class. And I think I did mention this last time, that I do kind of name and shame. Who's put this in the bin? There's plenty of use left in this one yet. Let's just pop that one there, and I think that will be enough. Take the backs off. Still a bit sniffy and a bit of a funny throat. That's been weeks now, so. And of course now the heating's come on, and that can affect how we feel. Hello, Alfie. Come to say hello. He's got his bone in his mouth. He's got this blue, like plastic bone that did have a squeak. Sophie and Alex bought it for him, and it did drive us crazy to start with because he just loved the squeak. And then one day it didn't squeak, bless him, but he loves it. He loves his bone. Okay, so first leaf has gone on. Next, let's stamp on this little circle. Now, as I said, you could use, let's bring in the card. Hello, hello isn't going to be everybody's choice of sentiment and greeting. I totally understand that. But as I said, the way of my design, I just wanted that circle to sit there. And the other stamps in this set, if you take a look, wouldn't actually fit in there. Now, thank you may well fit on that shape. Let's have a look. Thank you will just fit on there. But because we're using this set, I wanted to use the greetings, and we used this one on our card last week. So you could substitute this for another kind of banner or die cut that you've got. If you've got the tasteful labels, you could maybe pop something in that one. That would work quite well on there. But I'm sure you've got lots of things if you're not loving my hello, hello. Get down, little man. Right, let's just bring back in the stamps. Lie down on your bed as a good boy. As I've said, I think he's convinced I'm talking to him. Although he's quite intelligent. He probably knows I'm not. Okay, so hello. I think with a greeting like this as well, it can count for any kind of occasion. So someone's feeling unwell, someone's having a bad day, if you know they've been going through a tough time, hello will cover all the bases. And then on the inside of your card, that's where you can pop in what you really want to say. Okay, pop a couple of dimensionals on the back to stop it rocking around. And we'll do one on opposite sides like that. Now I'm thinking we'll just lay that one straight. There, like, actually I'm not, because, thinking now, because I have stamped this one right the way down low, I actually need to die cut a larger one of these, stamp and cut another. So I'll quickly just stamp one and then I'll cut it out. I'll do a bit of fussy cutting and let you guys catch up, because, can you see what I've done wrong? I was thinking on my original card I only stamped a little one up here and I stamped a big one here. I've actually not left any room to put a little one in, and the big one that I've cut out isn't big enough. So let's just stamp another. Bit of rough paper under there, like that. And then we'll just cut this one out. comments. Ruby, you're right actually about this leaf. Ruby's saying it looks a bit like a maple. It does look a bit like a maple. Don't need all of that stem. We used to have a maple stamp. It was an individual stamp, I believe. And I do believe I've actually still got mine. I have a cupboard over here in the studio that is full of retired stamps that I've never been able to part with. And usually when the time comes for a new catalogue, I go through all of my retired stuff and I sell it, because from a business point of view, it doesn't pay me to keep it because I don't use it. But there are certain stamps that I just do not want to part with, even once they're retiring. So I keep them. And I also have all of the Celebration sets since the year I joined in 2009. So that's, I have 11 years worth of Celebration sets in that cupboard. So I am on a bit of a mission around here to do a bit of reorganising in the studio and a bit of tidying and a bit of sorting. I need to move on some things from here because my cupboards are full, and you know what happens when you move in somewhere? Your cupboards are all empty, and then before you know it, you've filled them all up. So I'm going to line that there like that. I'm just hovering this over, because really what I should have done was hover this over before I cut. So I'm just going to snip off a bit like that. And then this is going to layer up. I'm just going to straighten that. Take a little bit more off. There we go. Let's move all these bits. So first of all, I'm going to pop some dimensionals under there and lay that down before we go any further, because this card is turning out to be slightly different. Right, let's take some from here. Yeah, so going back to, gosh, I'm easily distracted. Going back to my cupboard full of retired stamps. I'm pretty sure the maple is in there. Pretty sure it's a little wooden stamp as well. Anybody else remember that one? It was lovely. Okay, let's just lay this over the top. Oh, I need to be hiding my image underneath. I've got a job to see because my camera is in the way. That will do just fine. I'm just going to be really fussy and snip that little bit like that. Okay, what is next? We need to find a little home for this, and we also need to make room for a couple of leaves. Actually, got opposites to come in here like this, and then our greeting is going to go here. So what I am going to do is pull that dimensional off of the back. Little tip as well, I don't know if you know, but these dimensionals, if you put one on and it sticks to your card and you're left with this bit of foam stuck on your project, if you take your adhesive remover, if you've still got one of these, sadly we don't sell it anymore, but if you were on here last week, I'm going to have a bit of a wobble while I just do this, but you can actually rub off that bit of foamy backing that you don't want. So first of all, I'm going to pop my leaves in situ. So a bit of Tombow just on the bottom, and we'll pop those underneath the leaves, just about like that. Just curl the edges up a little bit. Should have done that before. And then I've just taken off that one dimensional because this is already on a dimensional. And I'm going to pop that one down in there like that. So we're not doing too bad considering I made a bit of a mistake. But as we say in crafting, it's never a mistake. It's just a happy accident. Take a bit more of your scrap. Ruby, you remember the maple? Oh, I know. Wasn't it lovely? I'm going to have to root it out in a bit. I have a feeling it was a very lined image. It had lots of like lining on it, if you know what I mean. That's not a very good way to describe it. It wasn't a plain stamp like this. It had lots of detail. It was very detailed. So you have already got some punched pieces. But this is the small bloom punch, a really valuable one to have. And we need a couple of these. And the lid of my Tombow, just to make them a little bit, give them a bit of height, a bit of 3D. And where shall I pop these? I think we'll put one down there. And one actually on the leaf, like that. And a bit of Tombow on there. Oop, sticking to me. I was just looking for my take your pick tool. There it is. It's on the other side. Just hold you in place. And then a bit on there. Because I've got it half on and half off, it doesn't want to sit still until it adheres. Let's move you that way a little bit so we're not blocking the hello hello. There. And then to finish you need to take your gems. Now are these gems? To remind myself what these are called. I think they're enamel dots. Gold enamel dots. Which size should we have? I'm going to have one large and one of the smaller, I think. So put the large one on there. Press it down and then we'll go with the next size down. Pop that one. In the middle would be nice. Like that, and then I'm just going to lift up my petals because I always like it to be 3D. And there we go, we're finished, all done. Let me just bring in the original card and you can tell me, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the stitched finish on this one, or do you prefer the non-stitched? I think it does give it a different look. It does also look different because I stamped this large stamp over a bit too much. Didn't leave enough room to pop this little one in the corner. So there we go. Let's do something on the inside. And then my card is finished. So grab your insert. I'm not sure what we did last week. What shall we use? Let's put the friendship one in because I do love that one. Your friendship is something I know I can count on. So we used that one on the outside last week. I'm just going to clean off this stamp because it's to hand and use this block rather than rooting in my block bag and wobbling my stand anymore. Let's just ink that one up and line it in at the bottom. This is tricky when you can't see right the way over. What shall we put? Now I've got some pieces already die cut. Let's just hover these over and think about how I might do a bit of stamping in the corner. Yeah, let's use this one. So I'm going to be making some cards with these later. Let's take our bit of scrap paper again to go underneath. And I'm just going to do some random stamping in the corner. And then I'm just going to use the edge. Stamp that one off again. And then another one. This is beautiful, this one. Just one coming up down in the corner here. Like that. Oh, and look what she did. She had ink on her thumb. But do you know what? Stampin' Up's card has got two sides. So we can just have another practice and do it all again. Don't you just love it when that happens? I know you all think I'm like superhuman and that I don't make mistakes. Believe me, I do. So that one first. So we get to have another go. Bit of scrap. And now I need to be more careful about how I hold the ink pad. So have one up here, and then we'll just stamp off on the corners, and then my thumb went in it then, I felt it. Let's just give that a wipe. I'm going to stamp that one off gently. Don't want to be too powerful down here. Let's put a bit more ink on there, and then just another one there. Phew, that one survived without an inky finger mark. A bit of something on there. So let's just pop the glue on the back of that one. Make sure our card is up the right way. And then pop that one down in. Bit of wiggle room, nice and central. And there we go. A beautiful card that I'm sure somebody, with a bit of a dog ear going on this one, somebody would love to receive. So there we go, the finished card. I hope you've enjoyed stamping along with me. If you have been stamping, right, I'm going to close up this ink pad and put it to one side for a moment. And I'm just going to bring in and just chat with you really quickly about my next round of Stampin' Chats. So, beginning in November, I am offering two, let's bring the other one in as well and then I can show you them both. There will be two options, let's move some pieces out of the way, for Stampin' Chat, because I know some of you have, sorry, I was just distracted by comments then. I know some of you have already almost finished your Christmas cards, which slightly freaks me out because the only cards I've been making have been those at classes that I've held or classes that I've done in the post. So I know some of you have already done all of your Christmas projects and cards as well. So this is what I thought. For next month, I will give you two options. So we have, nice Alfie hair on there. We have a non-Christmas option. So it includes the All Things Fabulous stamp set. It's going to include a Rococo Rose ink pad, half a packet of the champagne jewels. So these are like our rhinestones, but these are the champagne ones. You will also get half a spool of linen thread, which I absolutely adore, and that's £34.95. You will also get your 5 card kits and extra pieces that you need, pieces of cardstock, and that includes postage as well. So I will pop all these details up in the description down below, but they will also be on my website later. And if you're in my private group, my VIP Facebook group, you will have seen details on these as well. The Christmas version, I thought long and hard about what to use for the Christmas option. And I've had this stamp set for ages, so I only created a couple of projects with it. But I thought it's a great one that we could use. So I thought also, coming next month, 3rd of November, I believe, we've got a few, I showed you these last week, but we've got three, 4 items that are coming our way that are going to be like sneak peek of products that are coming in January. But these papers are exclusive until January, just before the actual catalogue launches, the new mini. And I thought I would include an 1/8 of these papers, and we could then use them with the ornamental envelopes and the dies, which I haven't actually got out. I can locate them, but I just love the colours, and I thought, because those of you that have done Stamp and Chat have done the other rounds, I've included the shaded spruce ink pad. So I thought for this round I would include the stamp set, which you're getting a nice glare of there, an 1/8 of the pack of the papers. You'll get 2 ink pads, so you'll get Cherry Cobbler and Sahara Sand, but don't worry, if you've already got those colours, you can switch them out for something else of your choice. And then, let's move you out of the way because you're inky, you will also get 1/3 of a pack of the Gilded Gems as well, but it means there will be the option to buy the dies if you want to. This is just a quick card I made when my stamps arrived. You can see I've used the corner stamps on here. I've used the dies to create a nice envelope liner and to create this lovely finish here, and then I just made a really simple card. It's just like a flip card, so it's designed to be given. I was thinking about, it's the kind of thing you could give to somebody open with it looking pretty. And then I thought about tying the ribbon round so that you didn't have to seal it or stick it down with a seal, and then it would have to be torn to be open. Let me grab the dies for you in my box. Go through them. I have lots of dies at the moment. Where are you? There you are. So this is the die set that goes with them. So there is an option to add on the dies if you want to. So look at this, it cuts all of those ornament baubles out in one go. And you've got these lovely pieces that you can use not just to line envelopes with, but to use as borders as well. So those are the dies. So that was my thinking on my offering for my next round of Stamp and Chats. As I've said, the first live will be on the 10th of November, I believe. So this will run through for the next couple of weeks, and then we will start live with this one on the 10th of November, and it will take us right the way through to the 8th of December. So we'll be kind of at the point of thinking of slowing down towards the festive season. Booking for this closes on the 27th of October, which would be next Tuesday. So let me know as soon as possible if you're interested in either of the options. So it does mean you will have to put up with me going live twice. Probably I will still do the Tuesday for both of them, but I will need to have a bit of a break in between just to recharge my phone until I figure out if I can get like a double adapter for charging. So that's the plan. So thank you all for joining me today. Please do take care, and I hope to see some of you very soon. So if you've got any questions, just get in touch. So take care everybody, and bye for now.